Beneath a blood-red sunset, a car blazed fiercely on the desolate highway. Flames licked hungrily at the vehicle's frame, black smoke billowing into the sky, while the faint, desperate cries of a child echoed through the suffocating air. Not far away, Ethan, a solitary millionaire, sat behind the wheel of his sleek SUV, his eyes cold and distant, his mind lost in the hollow calculations of a man who had long since surrendered his faith in life. Across the road, in a humble roadside diner, Mia, a waitress with calloused hands from endless labor and a heart that refused to abandon hope, hurriedly wiped down the counter. A moment of destiny was about to unfold, where two strangers would collide amidst fire and smoke. Could a single act of courage melt a frozen heart? Join us to uncover this story. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch our inspiring tales. Under the deep crimson glow of the sunset, Ethan guided his luxurious SUV along the desolate highway, his eyes fixed on the asphalt ribbon stretching ahead, yet his mind wandered lost in the shadowed corners of his past. 3 years had passed since the day his beloved wife left him forever, leaving behind their 6-year-old son, Noah, and a void no wealth could fill. He had built a business empire from nothing, each dollar stacking up in his account like cold, unyielding bricks, but they could not soothe the ache in his heart. In the back seat, Noah toyed with a plastic figurine, his clear, sparkling eyes untouched by worry or care. Ethan glanced at his son through the rearview mirror, a wave of guilt surging through his chest. He had tried to be a good father, providing Noah with the finest things money could buy, but with each passing day, he felt the chasm between them widen. His life was an endless chain of meetings, lifeless numbers, and sleepless nights, where loneliness gnawed at his soul like a silent beast. He wondered, was he truly living or merely existing? Not far from the highway, in a modest roadside diner, Mia stood behind the counter, her roughened hands swiftly wiping the already gleaming surface. At 25, she carried a simple beauty, but her eyes shone with the resilience of someone accustomed to facing adversity. Raised in poverty, Mia had learned early that hope was a luxury, and only hard work and perseverance were her anchors. She toiled 12 hours a day, her smile unwavering even when her hands trembled with exhaustion. Every cent she earned was carefully saved, fueling her dream of attending college, a dream that seemed as distant as a faint star in the night sky. But today, something felt off. The air in the diner hung heavier than usual, the hum of passing cars slowed, and a sharp, acrid smell of smoke stung her nose. Mia paused, her hand stilling as she looked out the window. Her heart clenched as her gaze caught a car not far away, engulfed in blazing red flames, its body swallowed by thick black smoke. An urgent instinct rose within her, fierce and unstoppable. The contrast between these two souls, though they had yet to meet, began to weave together in this fateful moment. Ethan, with all his wealth and power, was imprisoned by his own fear and loss, while Mia, possessing nothing but calloused hands and a steadfast heart, stood ready to face danger. He drove in silence, but his soul screamed with the weight of painful memories. She stood behind the counter, but her spirit was poised to rush forward, confronting the fire. Two worlds, one cloaked in the icy solitude of affluence, the other warmed by the fire of courage and hope, were unknowingly drawing closer. Ethan had no idea that in mere minutes he would witness an act that would stir his heart for the first time in years. Mia, unaware, could not fathom that her impulsive bravery would alter not one, but 2 lives. That moment, as the flames roared on the highway, marked the beginning of a story of healing and compassion, where strangers would find light in each other's darkness. The highway lay silent, save for the howling wind mingling with the searing heat from flames devouring an old sedan. Ethan sat motionless in his SUV, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. He hadn't noticed the tragedy unfolding until Noah's young, panicked voice pierced the stillness, pointing toward the burning car ahead. Ethan's heart pounded, threatening to burst from his chest. Through the windshield, he saw vivid red flames licking the car's body, black smoke coiling skyward like a ferocious beast. Inside, the small silhouette of a child pounded on the window, their face contorted with fear, eyes pleading in desperation. Ethan wanted to act, to rush out, but his legs felt frozen, weighed down by agonizing memories. The accident years ago, when fire stole the wife he loved, flashed vividly before him, choking his breath in his throat. He couldn't endure another loss. He turned to Noah, seeking comfort, but met only his son's wide, trusting eyes, shining with innocent faith that his father would do the right thing. That trust stabbed deep into Ethan's heart, making him feel small, useless, like a man who had lost himself entirely. Not far away, in a roadside diner, Mia stood behind the counter, her heart racing as the sharp, acrid smell of smoke hit her nose. No words were needed for her to grasp what was happening. The rag in her hand fell to the counter, and she bolted from the diner, leaving behind the stunned gazes of regular customers. Hot gusts from the fire lashed at her face, carrying a burning sting, but her steps never faltered. The child's faint cries for help echoed, sharp as a blade slicing through her chest. Mia was no hero, never considered herself brave, but her heart refused to let her stand by. A crowd began to gather around the car, their faces a mix of curiosity and fear, yet none dared approach. Mia didn't hesitate. She charged forward, feeling the scorching heat sear her skin, but her eyes locked onto the small figure inside the car. The door was jammed, unyielding, but she quickly spotted a metal rod lying by the roadside. With all her strength, she smashed it against the window, shards of glass clattering to the ground. The flames roared behind her, but Mia didn't look back. She reached through the shattered frame, pulling the child out and clutching them tightly to her chest. The child trembled, their breaths ragged, but safe in her arms. Heat still pressed against Mia's back, but a wave of relief flooded her chest, as if she had just snatched a small piece of the world from the jaws of fate. The contrast between Ethan and Mia, though they had yet to meet, shone starkly in this moment. Ethan, a man who once commanded a business empire, was imprisoned by fear and memory, powerless before the raging fire. Mia, a waitress with rough hands and a hard scrabble life, acted without a moment's hesitation, as if courage were her very nature. He sat in his car, wrestling with himself, while she plunged into danger, heedless of her own safety. Ethan looked at Noah, feeling like a failure as a father, as a man, while Mia held the stranger's child, their heartbeat merging with her own. That moment, as the fire roared on the highway, marked the start of a fateful intersection, where a man's pain and a young woman's courage began to intertwine, promising a transformation neither could foresee. The flames still roared on the highway, their fierce red glow casting a chaotic dance of light and shadow, painting the sunset sky with a turbulent blend of smoke and heat. Ethan stood not far away, beside his luxurious SUV, but his heart felt as if it were being crushed within his chest. He witnessed every second, every heartbeat of the moment, as the young woman, clad in a grease-stained, crumpled apron and worn-out shoes, hurled herself into danger to save a stranger's child. She held the child tightly in her arms, whispering gentle words of comfort, while black smoke swirled around them like a deadly curtain. Her actions, resolute and without hesitation, sliced through the icy shell encasing Ethan's soul like a razor-sharp blade. He, a man who possessed everything the world coveted, wealth, power, prestige, stood there, frozen, imprisoned by fear and memory. Before the fire, he was merely a faint shadow, a coward unable to face himself. Shame surged within him, burning hotter than the flames before him, scorching the pride he once thought he still held. Noah, the 6-year-old beside him, clutched his hand, his small, warm fingers squeezing tightly as if to lend him strength. The boy's clear eyes sparkled with admiration as he gazed at the young woman, his innocent voice ringing out, pure as a single note cutting through the stifling air. Ethan didn't respond, only tightened his grip on his son's hand, struggling to conceal the tidal wave of emotions swelling within him. Pain, self-reproach, and a strange, unfamiliar spark, something he hadn't felt in years, mingled, urging him to step out of the car. He moved toward the woman, his feet heavy as if crossing an invisible threshold, unsure of what he would say, yet drawn by an unseen force. It wasn't just gratitude. It was a yearning to touch something real, something he had lost long ago. Mia, standing amidst the murmuring crowd, still held the child, feeling its ragged heartbeat blend with her own. She gently stroked the child's hair, soothing the lingering fear in its eyes. The fire still blazed behind her, but she paid it no mind. Her task was done. She looked up, startled to see a man approaching. He was tall, impeccably dressed, but his eyes carried a profound sadness, as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. Mia didn't know who he was, but his gaze stopped her in her tracks. It wasn't mere gratitude. It was a complex blend of pain and quiet admiration. She set the child down, handing them to their mother, who arrived with tear-streaked cheeks and choked words of thanks. Mia smiled, but the smile couldn't mask the exhaustion etched into her face. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the adrenaline still coursing through her veins after facing the fire. She turned to face Ethan, sensing the weight in his gaze, as if he carried an untold story within him. Her voice emerged, soft but sincere, asking if he was all right, though she herself was drained. Ethan shook his head, unable to speak a word. In that moment their eyes met, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt seen. Not as a millionaire, a successful businessman, but as a wounded human, laid bare before the truth. Mia's simple act had awakened a part of him he thought had died with his late wife. She didn't know it, but her gentle gaze, fleeting as it was, planted a tiny seed in his soul, promising a change neither could yet envision. The connection between these two, though just beginning, carried an invisible power. Ethan, who once believed he had lost the ability to feel, stood before Mia and felt small in the face of her courage. Mia, unaware of the man before her, sensed a deep pain in his eyes, a pain she, with her resilient yet weary heart, could understand. That moment, amidst the smoke and chaos, was a meeting point of two souls, where courage and vulnerability touched, opening a new path, though neither knew where it would lead. Black smoke still curled upward from the burning car, but the air shuddered with a deafening explosion, as if the flames themselves were roaring in a final surge of fury. Shards of metal flew in all directions, sharp as knives slicing through the atmosphere. Mia, having just set the child down beside their sobbing mother, hadn't yet turned back toward the diner when she felt a terrifying wave of heat rushing toward her. In that very moment, Ethan, the man long caged by his own fear, acted on instinct. He lunged forward, pulling Mia and Noah back from the danger zone, shielding them with his body. His heart pounded wildly, not from the threat of the fire, but from a sudden realization dawning within him. He still had the capacity to protect those around him, a piece of himself he thought had been buried with his past. The heat still pressed against his back, but it paled in comparison to the warmth seeping into his chest, like a faint ray of light piercing a dense, dark night. Mia, though she had just faced the flames, maintained an astonishing calm. She knelt down, gently checking on Noah, her eyes carefully searching for any sign of injury on the boy. Her hands, roughened by long days of labor, touched Noah's shoulder with a tenderness that sought to ensure fear wouldn't consume him. She didn't know that this unassuming act, her instinctive care for a stranger's child, had reached a hidden corner of Ethan's soul. He stood there watching her, his gaze no longer merely one of admiration but of profound gratitude, as if she hadn't just saved the child from the burning car, but had unwittingly pulled him from his own darkness. Mia, with her crumpled apron and worn-out shoes, had become a symbol of what Ethan longed for: courage, sincerity, and a heart unbroken by hardship. In the days that followed, Mia's image lingered in Ethan's mind, like a melody he couldn't shake. He returned to the roadside diner, sitting down for the first time as a customer, though his heart wasn't there for a cup of coffee. He wanted to know more about her, the woman who had done what he couldn't. Through fragmented stories from others in the diner, Ethan learned that Mia was tireless, always smiling despite a harsh life that offered her no reprieve. She saved every penny, nurturing a dream of college, a simple yet burning ambition. Her story forced Ethan to look at himself. He began to change, spending more time with Noah, reading bedtime stories to his son, and listening to his innocent tales of dinosaurs and superheroes. Noah's laughter, a sound once drowned out by endless days of meetings, became a healing balm for the wounds in Ethan's heart. Above all, Ethan wanted to do something for Mia, not to repay her, but to carry forward the spark she had ignited in him. He didn't want to use money, something he had in abundance, for that felt too easy, too hollow. Instead, he quietly set out to support her dream. With his connections, Ethan reached out to a prestigious university, skillfully arranging a full scholarship, ensuring Mia would never know he was behind it. He did this not for recognition, but because he believed her kindness deserved a genuine opportunity. Each step he took, from phone calls to letters sent, brought a sense of relief, as if he were piecing himself back together, bit by bit. The invisible bond between Ethan and Mia, though unspoken, had begun to take root. Ethan, who once thought his heart had turned to stone, now felt it beating again, more steadily with each small act for another. Mia, unaware of Ethan's efforts, carried on with her quiet resilience, her smile unwavering as she worked. The moment of the explosion on the highway, when Ethan pulled Mia and Noah from harm's way, was not just the climax of an accident, but the beginning of a healing. They, two strangers, were unknowingly exchanging fragments to mend their wounds, though neither yet realized it. On a gentle autumn morning, golden sunlight streamed through the roadside diner's window, bathing the worn counter in a warm, glowing embrace. Mia stood behind it, her calloused hands hurriedly wiping down glasses, just as she did every day. But today, a pristine white envelope on the counter stopped her cold. She opened it, her eyes scanning the words, then reading them again, as if unable to believe what lay before her. The letter announced a full scholarship to a prestigious university, a door flung open to the dream she had cradled through endless, exhausting days of work. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from sorrow, but from a profound sense of relief, as if every effort, every drop of sweat, and every sleepless night spent dreaming had been validated. That letter was more than an opportunity. It was proof that the world still held space for the simple dreams of a woman like her. Mia clutched the paper tightly, her heart pounding, feeling a spark of hope ignite within her chest, mirroring the sunlight that enveloped her. That afternoon, Ethan appeared at the diner, Noah by his side, the boy's radiant smile and sparkling eyes lighting up the room. Mia watched him from behind the counter, noticing a subtle shift in his demeanor. Gone was the man with the heavy gaze from before. This Ethan was softer, his discreet smile brimming with sincerity. He ordered a coffee, but instead of leaving like other customers, he lingered, the old wooden chair creaking under his weight. Mia brought the coffee over, and for the first time they talked. Not idle pleasantries, but genuine sharing. She spoke of her simple dreams, her longing to become a teacher, her childhood days in a rough neighborhood. Ethan listened, his eyes never leaving her, as if each word she spoke was a piece of a puzzle helping him understand the world anew. Noah darted around the counter, his clear laughter filling the air, breathing life into the diner's modest space. For the first time in years, Ethan felt his heart lighten, as if a portion of his past's burden had melted away, leaving room for light to fill the void. From her perspective, Mia began to see Ethan as more than a wealthy man with a sleek SUV and an expensive suit. Through his eyes, she glimpsed invisible scars, pain hidden behind his cool exterior. She noticed his effort, the tender way he looked at Noah, the patience with which he listened to the boy's innocent tales. Though unaware of the priceless gift Ethan had quietly given her, the scholarship tucked in her coat pocket, Mia sensed a deep connection between them. It wasn't love, not the romantic kind of fairy tales, but a quiet understanding, like two souls who once believed the world held only darkness, finding each other in a fleeting moment of light. She smiled at him, wordless, yet her smile seemed to affirm that they were no longer alone. Ethan sat there, his coffee growing cold on the table, but he didn't care. He said nothing about the scholarship, unwilling to let the glow of his deed overshadow the sincerity between them. He simply wanted to see Mia, to learn more about her, about the resilient heart that had forced him to confront himself. Noah, clutching a small toy, ran to his side, sharing a clumsy story about superheroes. Ethan leaned down, ruffling his son's hair, and for the first time, he felt truly like a father, not just a provider of material things. Mia, standing a few steps away, watched the father and son, a warmth spreading through her. She didn't know that her courageous act days before had planted the seed for Ethan's transformation, just as he didn't know his gift was opening a new future for her. Their connection, though fragile, had become an invisible thread, binding two wounded souls. Ethan, whose heart had once turned to stone, began to feel the warmth of life again. Mia, who had fought through countless hard days, found a new spark of hope, not only from the scholarship letter, but from the earnest gaze of the man before her. That moment, in the humble diner under the autumn sun, was a quiet turning point, where kindness and understanding began to heal their wounds, though neither yet realized it. Beneath the soft golden glow of an autumn afternoon, the story of Ethan, Mia, and Noah is not merely a moment of heroism amidst smoke and fire, but a profound journey of how a single fateful second can transform an entire life. Ethan, a man who once believed wealth defined his very existence, learned a lesson etched deep into his soul. Sitting in the small roadside diner, listening to Noah's clear, joyful laughter and gazing into Mia's resilient eyes, he realized that a person's worth lies not in the numbers in their bank account, but in the choices they make when faced with challenges. The moment he pulled Mia and Noah from the danger of the explosion, though driven by instinct, awakened a part of him he thought was lost, a part capable of love, protection, and cherishing life's simple joys. His wealth, once a source of pride, now seemed a pale shell compared to the radiant light of Mia's courage and sincerity. Mia, with her steadfast heart and calloused hands, became a small but brilliant flame in this story. She needed no fame, no riches, only a heart big enough to act when others were in need. Her rescue of the child from the burning car was not just a moment of bravery, but a powerful reminder that kindness, however simple, holds the strength to transcend all boundaries. She didn't know her actions had touched Ethan, pulling him from the shadows of pain and loneliness. Through his eyes, she saw a man striving to mend his wounds, not only for himself, but for his young son. Unaware of the scholarship Ethan had quietly gifted her, Mia had unknowingly planted a seed of hope in his heart, reminding him that the world still held room for goodness. Noah, the boy with clear eyes and a carefree smile, was the invisible bridge drawing these two strangers closer. His laughter, his innocent tales of superheroes, softened Ethan's frozen heart, helping him rediscover the role of a father he once thought he didn't deserve. Noah didn't know that his small presence had become a beacon in this story, connecting two souls searching for meaning amid their scars. With his innocence and unwavering faith, the boy reminded both Ethan and Mia that sometimes the simplest things carry the greatest power to heal. This story, with its flames on the highway and sunlight in the diner, is a profound call to its audience, igniting belief in kindness and understanding. It reminds us that each of us, no matter where we stand in life, can make a difference, not through wealth or fame, but through simple, meaningful choices. Ethan and Mia, two souls who once believed the world had no place for hope, found light in each other, and through that, rediscovered themselves. Let this story inspire you to believe that even the smallest act of kindness can change the world. If this tale has touched your heart, let it spread. Hit that subscribe button, share it with those you love, and leave a comment about the moment that moved you most. Together, we can spread these human values, for it is kindness that will light the way to a brighter future.